Crude oil futures held around $85 a barrel on Thursday after jumping nearly 2% in the previous session as investors continue to monitor geopolitical developments in the Middle East amid fears that Israel-Hamas war could escalate and disrupt supplies in oil-rich regions. Oil prices also found support from news that Chinese government would widen its budget deficit and issue 1 trillion yuan in supplementary bonds for disaster relief and infrastructure developments, potentially lifting energy demand in the world's top crude importer. Meanwhile, official data showed, well, my bad. Let me, it opened a new window for me. Come back here. There you go. Can you see that now? No doubt. Meanwhile, official data showed U.S. crude inventories rose by 1.37 million barrels last week, exceeding forecasts of 0.23 million barrels of an increase. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with crude. My overall sentiment on crude is still bullish, even though we're going through this back and forth. I do believe that the war in the Ukraine, not in Ukraine, I'm sorry, Israel-Hamas war could definitely, as it lingers on, have an impact on oil, similar to what the war in Ukraine had as well, pushing oil prices to the upside at some point. So that will it'll be interesting to see how things continue to move. And then if China does start to make some progress, we definitely could see some positive movement there as well. So that definitely be interesting. Joe, appreciate you sharing that. And we'll see how things transpire to see if there's more downward pressure before we move up, or if we get prices settle in and move to the upside there. So we'll continue to watch that and see. Any other thoughts from a fundamental perspective? No. All right. Cool. All right. So here we go. Dollar, we're ranging. All right. Pushing back to the top of the range. This level here is holding 13,222. And we'll see what happens as we move through the day. Do we break out of this range finally and continue pushing long, or does that range hold and do we push back down to the downside? And it's on a daily time frame on the DXY. All right. So we shall see there. All right, we shall see there on the dollar as we go down to the 4. Right, see that range a little bit more closely there. Haven't got to that 382 on the 4-hour time frame either. So dollars in a range. We'll see if we get any catalysts that will cause it to break out to the upside or to the downside. All right. So let's take a quick look at the dollar yen. As we talked about those yens, and then I want to look at the euros just to get things updated as we move into rate statement later this morning. So on the daily time frame, there's our support level. We broke this 151.29 level right here, and we've got some indecision now, right? Bank of Japan saying, hey, we're watching, right, any impulsive moves. But as you see, right, as price has been moving to the upside, we haven't seen anything really, really strong and impulsive here, right? But even when we did, we had a pullback, things moderated, and then we slowly started to trickle back to the upside. So, and each time things start to get a little antsy, we pull back. So things haven't really pushed in a strong way to the upside, and that's the thing that the Bank of Japan is looking for is violent moves in the direction. So if we continue to trickle to the upside, getting small pullbacks here or there, we could definitely see this continue to rise to the upside and get to this 152,333 level sometime over the next couple months. So we'll continue to monitor to see what happens. But we did break this key level. Got some indecision now, retesting that previous consolidation zone here. So I'm expecting this to continue to push to the upside, and we definitely could see the dollar continue to rally as well. We'll see how the data comes out for the dollar, and that'll give us a little better insight there. Run the fib off the low here, right? And you see we wick this 382 level here at the support, and we're trying to press long. So that 4-hour D extension is also in line with that daily D extension. So watching the moves, right? Watching the moves, but expecting price to get to this previous high here from last year, right? Last October, expecting that level to definitely come in play. In line with those D extensions. So prices riding to the upside there as we come down to the one. Let's get all the way back here. We'll run our fib off the low. Boom, right? And we see the nice clean break of the level. We're coming back to retest it now. And then we'll look for price to push long, right? We don't have a 382 here, but we got on this crazy wick to the downside, double bottom, and then pushing long. So that D extension is in sights. Definitely looking for that to be achieved before we get before we get a reversal, but we could continue just to blow through that level as well, and get to that monthly resistance level. One of the things that I do want to just watch for when looking at this is as we started to get closer to this monthly resistance level, things did, right? We broke this key level, pushed up. Things started to escalate a bit, right? So we may, it wouldn't surprise me if we see a similar type action where we get a couple of days of strong impulsive movement. Bank of Japan steps in, or right in line with the rate statement coming next week, potential changes to the monetary policy, and then boom, reversal, right? So the monetary policy is coming in on Monday next week. So definitely want to watch that closely to see how things transpire throughout the rest of this week. But watching that level and watching to see if we start to get some violent moves to close out the week and maybe to start the week next week, pushing us to those highs. So we'll keep our eyes peeled there. Any questions on this dollar yen? Nope. All right. Sweet. So let's hop over to the euros. I want to go through those just to see where we are. So come back to the weekly here. Weekly time frame. We know overall been playing this longer fib, this longer swing to the upside, 382 there at 174,392. But we've been in this kind of rangy-ish zone here, right? Staying below 170,709. Nice push to the downside that we played. Got a pullback here. Now we're indecisive. So if the ECB does hold, we could potentially see this one move back down to the downside. And this is a zone that I have been watching for a few weeks now. Potentially price pushing back down to these lows at 158,554, giving us a double bottom type look here if we do get the catalyst that turns this over and presses us down to the downside. So longer term, that's what I am looking for if we continue to stay below that 170,709 level. So keeping that in mind. All right, coming down to the daily, and this is where we are. This was that beautiful move down, gave us a 50% retracement level, and we started to push back up, but we stayed below that level, 168,876, and obviously below that 170 level. So with us stalling here, we got some positive data for the Aussie, right? Aussie picked up some strength early in the week, pulling back now. So I'm watching this. We had the strong bearish candle here, and we got price to take back almost all of that bearish candle, but we got a reaction off the top there. So watching this to see if that catalyst turns it over and presses that down to the downside there. Coming down to the 4, this is where things could be interesting, right? Because we did get that 50% retracement on the 4, looking for price to continue running long unless we get the fundamental catalyst to turn this over. All right, so looking to see here how things transpire, right? You see push down, pull back, and we're starting to turn over on the 4 already. So we could be in for a price to at least push back down this 163,394 level, but there's potential for this to continue to move even deeper, which could then play into the we talked about previously with the war as it lingers on, starting to see the commodity currencies pick up some strength as we move through. So so we'll watch and see how things move here with these commodity currencies, and if those fall in line with the fundamental data that is also released. So that's the 4-hour look there. Coming down to the 1, here's the look on the 1. We got double bottom here at the 50% level, and we got a push, right? We didn't get to the D extension, stayed inside, and we're pushing back down. So it'll be interesting to see what the ECB has to say. And maybe we push back up and retest that 168,876 and get to the 1-hour D extension before things reverse. But then maybe we don't, right? So that's something I'm going to be watching to see what if we get a catalyst to move this in either direction, right? Depending on what the ECB has to say there. So that one is a little mixed right now, but that's what I'm looking at in either direction. Any questions on the Euro Aussie? No. Okay. Cool deal. VIX. Let's take a look. I haven't looked at the VIX in a minute, actually. But let's see. Ooh. See, I haven't looked at it, but we're above 20. We've been above 20 for a little bit. So wartime pushed us above 21.34. And moving down, right? Moving down off the highs, but still above 20. So that's interesting, right? But it makes sense with the moves that we've seen, especially in favor of the Swissy, right? As we push into above 20, being more in a risk off sentiment, right? That'll be interesting to watch to see if this continues the downward trajectory here. But above 20 so far. So we'll continue to watch that. I'll start looking at that again. As we move through the past few months, we hadn't gotten a lot of movement in it. So we're starting to seeing that movement back in. So we'll continue to watch that to see. Also, we'll add that back into our mix. Appreciate you bringing that up, Joy. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how things transpire. See if we drop back below 20 there. So that's the Euro Aussie, and that's the VIXI coming down to the Euro CAD, right? Positive, or Bank of Canada held rates, but it was a hawkish pause. So I'm going to come back on this to just looking at from a monthly perspective and work my way down here. Take these off. So here on the monthly, right? 8-6 retracement. We stayed below that 151.312 level, and we started to make our way down, right? Bearish candle, pullback, bearish candle, pullback. Do we get a catalyst to turn this over and press back down to the downside? Do we see oil level out? Do we see the ECB pause? And then do we see this turn over and press down to the downside? Watching this one closely here, right? Especially as we stay in this deep retracement zone inside of this A boundary from a monthly time frame and from a weekly time frame. Well, that's the 4 from a weekly time frame, right? So on the weekly, we also got an 8-6 retracement. We briefly broke above this weekly level, right? Pushed back down, created another weekly high, continued to stay below. So you see here on the weekly, right, we had some support here in the zone. I dropped this black line in here just to look at the support and resistance in this zone as you go back, right? And you see this level has been very, very, very key when we've broken above and when we've stayed below. So we broke above, we came back, right? We created a support here, right? Broke above it, and now we came back below and we're stalling on the retest. So I'm watching this zone again to see if we're able to stay below and if things are able to turn over and press back down to the downside to continue to make this move to the downside more defined, right? We got support here at 142.412 as an area to watch, but want to see if we get that continuation to the downside there, okay? So we'll keep that in mind as well, all right? One of those just joined us. My apologies on the link there. So that's where we sit on the weekly time frame on the Euro CAD. Coming down to the daily, right? Here's an 80-20 scenario off the high. Shallow retracement 118, 127. We've been breaking down ever since, right? Lower highs and lower lows. Boom. Right? So if we stay below the trend line, continue looking short. So that's the trend line perspective, right? And we're staying below, pressing down, right? And this is that level from that line that I drew on the higher time frame. Okay. Now what we could also potentially get here is this. Not the prettiest crown in the world, but we could see it happen. Boom. Right? So do we create a swing high here, close up today, and do we turn over and press down? Right? To get us down to that deep retracement zone and that push lower. So that's something that also caught my eye as well. Potential crown pattern here on the Euro CAD pushing down to the downside, right? So a little bit more confirmation if we get the swing high to form. And we get the catalyst to move us down. So as we come down to the 4, right? Ton of movement back and forth. But here is where we stand. Boom. 80-20 on the 4. Shallow retracement 118, 127. This is that key level, right? That I draw off the higher time frame. We're still playing at it right now, but 80-20 scenario on the 4-hour time frame, right? So looking for price to push down to the downside, even if it is just in the short term here, right? That could also be the catalyst off the higher time frame for price to turn over and continue moving lower. So got my eyes there. Got an entry in on this one. to the downside on this 80-20 scenario, but this could turn into a longer move for us as well if we continue to get the catalyst from a higher time frame and fundamentally with the euro and the CAD and oil. So there's the initial move there. Okay, so we'll watch that. Watch that there. Anybody in this to the downside already? Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes.
What was that?
Yes.
Jeremy is great work, man. Great work, great work. So we'll continue to monitor, right? So coming down to the one, we have some more confluence here, right? On the 1 hour time frame, shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone, consolidation, breakdown, right? So we got confirmation multiple time frames. Beneath also, great work, right? Got confirmation multiple time frames. So, right, we'll monitor and watch it play out. Okay. There's only 1 hour time frame, shorter term, right? So as we monitor this as it moves, we can, right, depending on what time frame you're trading this off of, right, we'll watch it and see how it moves. But we could also monitor that longer time frame, longer view as well from a weekly and monthly perspective. If we take out this A on the 1 hour and the 4 hour, seeing the rest of this move play out to the downside. All right. So any questions on this Euro CAD?
No.
All right, cool deal. Cool deal. So that's on our radar there. Let me just make sure. Boom. All right. So we got that. Let's go to Euro Swissy. And this one could be interesting, right? Overall, weekly pressing down, right? 382 press down to the downside. We're stalling at this 94,031 level. It'll be interesting to see how this pair responds to the rate decision, right? Does the level hold and push up, or do we break that and get to the D extension? Okay, so that is that level is going to be key for us to watch and follow there. Coming down to the daily, right? The move is also down, right? So this weekly level is going to be important. 50, just shy of a 50% retracement there. So weekly level is going to be key. We haven't been able to break back above the support level, right? It's serving as resistance. Does it continue to do that is the question, right? Down to the 4. Didn't quite get that 382 off the swing there, right? Was a decent move to the upside, but then we broke back down. Okay, so we broke that daily level. Whoops, I'll leave that in there. And now we're sitting here just shy of 118, pressing sideways. Okay, so again, right, does this level hold? Does this level hold at resistance, right? Or do we break down and continue moving lower? Okay, so that'll be important for us to watch. Here on the 1, right, we already got a 618 retracement on the 1 hour D extension 93,840. Okay, so a little bit mixed here, and so we'll watch and see how things move. From a larger fib perspective, right? These are sub fibs to the downside. There's our larger fib there, right? So we'll watch and see short term and long term how things move, right? Shallow retracement, just with the 118 level, tried to push up, came right back down. So that's our capital fib there that we're watching, and we'll see how things transpire there. See if we get a breakout of the consolidation or or if we continue moving south. All right, so not a ton doing right there. It'll be interesting to see how it responds, right? With potential retracement with the Swissies, but you also have that rate statement coming in that could override all of that. All right, so questions on the Euro Swiss?
Nope.
Cool. Our lovely friend, the Euro GBP, is trying to do its dance, but we're stalled at this 87,180 level. We're trying to break it, right? Couldn't break it previously. Trying again. We'll see if we get that push to the upside there. But it's been making that move to the upside, right? Off the off the deep retracement on the daily time frame. Okay. So this is the larger move on the daily right here. Okay. 786 retracement, and we're just struggling, right? We broke the daily level, right? But we're stuck in this range again, which makes sense. So we're just waiting to see if we're able to break above that to continue this move to the upside. You got a relatively a softer pound and potential of a softer euro with a rate pause. So we'll watch to see which takes precedent here, and see if we get a break and a move to the upside. Okay. So just with this one, as we talked about off the entry, just being patient with it and allowing it to do its thing, knowing that it could take the rest of the year for it to move halfway to the target. So off the low, that's 200 pips. Off my entry there, that's 148 to the upside, right? And we're looking for matching the extension here at some point, 95, 214. Just close the chart altogether. I'm with that too. Just close it and allow it to just move however it's going to, right? But we'll see if we get the catalyst for a nice little uptick and continue to move to the upside there. So it'd be nice if we get some bullish action like we did back here to break the level and then get a retest and a continuation. But we'll see what happens. So that's on the daily time frame. Weekly, on the 4-hour perspective, 618 retracement. I missed that opportunity to add to the trade there, but we're headed along, right? 618 retracement, push to the upside, matching the extension on the 487,805. Okay, so here on the 4-hour, we've broken above that level, and we're just lingering in that zone. Okay, just lingering there. Coming down to the 1, boom, right? Similar to the 4, 618 retracement, trend line breaks, move to the upside. So expecting this to continue. So just a matter about when it will. So just allowing it to do what it does and take its time. So that one's on the go. Hopefully some folks are still holding that. No Joy is. So any questions on the Euro GBP?
Nope.
No. All right. Cool. Euro yen. This one will be interesting, right? Stuck in this range. Shallow retracement, not able to break out to the top side here, right? And we'll push them back down. So we got 156, 602 as the previous support level. We got another level there, right? So I'm gonna move this up there for that support, and then I'll drop this other level here, like so. I'll take this one out. All right, so that's where we are, right? Tightly wound range here. We're pressing back down. We'll see if that support level holds, and if we get a push back to the upside on this euro yen, or if we break the support and continue headed south. So we'll watch that to see how things transpire. Yeah, Bank of Japan is watching, but they have not made any decisions. Yeah, I'll bounce back to that. Reese, give me 1 second. haven't made any decisions on this euro yen. So I mean on the yen. So we definitely could see more upside movement there. Let's go back to that euro GBP real quick before we dive deeper on this euro yen. Reese wanted to see the 15. Uh 15-minute sub fib. Let's see. You running them off. You run them off the high or the low, Reese? There we go. There's that. And then just like that. Cool. Yep. So that's 50% retracement off that sub fib. Pushing back down now, breaking below the cloud, bearish ahead. We'll see what happens at 87, 180. One more fib. Boom. I see where you are. Okay. Yep. Let's watch this level here and see what happens. See what happens if we hold at this level and get price to turn back to the upside, double bottom look. Yeah, we'll watch that. We'll watch that and see. Yeah. I'll follow you there, man. So let's we'll check back on this one. Well, let's watch and see what happens with this candle. I'm curious. We're gonna break that support level.
Before your eyes, huh?
Mm-hmm. No doubt, Reese. Yeah, let's watch and see. Let's see what happens. If that level holds, right? Folks that trade on the lower time frame, this could be your opportunity here. Boom. Getting a reaction there. There's your move. Boom. Okay, so what you could do, yeah, it's a once in a lifetime chance with this Euro GBP. See if we get some live action on it. What you could do is come down to now your 5 and see if you get either a trend line break or a cloud break. That cloud will take a minute, still pushed off, but there's your reaction there off the support. So depending on what your confirmation points are, right? That's how you could look at that right there. That level might hold, Reese. That level might hold. Let's see.
It's a gap on the 1 minute. Is that wick?
I don't have a gap.
Well, okay. I'm looking at mine too for.
Okay. There you go. Getting a push off the lower time frame. Let's see. The extension. 786 retracement, the extension achieved. That'll be a new AB boundary. Let's see. Trying to break it on the 1. Yeah, we could continue to push down. Gave you a reaction, but it's still pushing down to the downside there. We got a D extension on the 5 as well. Yeah, pushing down. So you could watch these lower time frames and see if you get your 80-20 on the 1 minute or a new AB boundary on the 5 minute, right? Still holding. Yeah. So that is the Euro GBP. Questions on the Euro GBP? We'll continue to monitor it, but it's trying to break that support level. There was that fib there. See what happens. We'll check back on it in a second and see where we are. All right, on the lower time frames. Euro yen, yeah, pressing down, right? So coming to the 4, this is where it could get fun, right? Depending on how things move. On gold, I'll check it out, Jeremy. Shallow retracement 118, 127 zone, right? Just from pressing sideways, rangy there. So at what point do we break down and continue moving down to the downside here on this Euro JPY, right? Is this the catalyst that gets us to break that level and continue moving south? We'll watch that to see, but range bound nonetheless. So that's one to start to kind of prepare for. What I really would like on this Euro yen is I would like to see one more push to the upside, right? Getting into this range here on the weekly time frame, testing this previous zone here that we broke out of back in 2008. I don't know if I'll get my wish, but selfishly, that's what I would like to see to really get this high price here and retest some of these levels to then move down to the downside. Now, if we get a dollar yen to push to that 152 level, well, we might get close to this 80-20 on the weekly, right? So I'm still sitting patiently on this one. But if we break out of the range, then I'll look for some short opportunities, because that 80-20 on the 4, right, has been there and it's just been ranging. So I'll have some opportunity to the downside still after we break that support level, still being that 118 and 127 zone. So that's kind of what I'm watching it from a higher time frame perspective. The extension on the 4, push into this range here, potentially get to 170, 169. But looking more for 80-20 on the weekly time frame and a longer term swing in favor of the yen. So as we come down to the 1, right, you see we got a 50% retracement here. So with even the ECB, right, if they do come in dovish, this could still run to the downside. We got that weekly support level. I made an adjustment on that. The daily support level here. Boom. Right. So we got daily support level coming in at an 8.6 retracement, which puts us right above that B boundary at 160, right, which breaks that resistance level that we've been fighting at, that 80-20 level on the 4, right, and pressing to the upside. So that's what I'm watching here. So I'm looking to see if this daily support level holds on this 1 hour time frame, right, and kind of at the bottom of this range, and we get a catalyst to push back to the upside potentially, right, coming in line with next week and the Bank of Japan rate statement. So that's where we are on the euro yen. It's pressing down here on the one, still caught in the range, but I'm looking at these lower levels, right, in our sweet spot on the 1 hour to see if we get price to hold and turn back over, and potential opportunity to play this long, right, for a C to D move, pushing back to the upside here. So those are my thoughts on the euro yen. You're short on this one due to the BOJ signaling. I dig the double top on the daily. We'll see, right? We definitely could, right? Depending on how the BOJ comes in next week. They did say that they're watching things closely. And we know they oftentimes drop rhetoric out there to move the market so that they don't have to do anything. So Monday is going to be interesting to see if we start to see some changes in the monetary policy. So I definitely dig your short on being short on this right now, Jeremy. I do, especially at off this top of the range, even if it was just a range play, right? Even if it was just top of the range or the bottom of the range, that's still almost 300 pips down. So I definitely understand the short there. Definitely do. And with the double top on the daily, yeah, I dig that 3 times actually at that level. So I definitely dig it. Definitely dig it. Right. I'm curious to see what the Bank of Japan does overall, to see if they do start to shift that narrative. Even though they've been saying the wage talks are going to be what they look at to make that determination. So we shall see. We shall see. Nope, that's a good move to the downside though, for sure. Any other thoughts, questions on this euro yen? On the 15.
No.
You're looking at the 15 here, right, Jeremy? Or is that on the Euro GBP?
Yeah, Euro GBP.
I got you. Okay. All right. So we'll drop back to that as well. So that's the 5.15. Let's see. There's our fib on the 15. Similar to the 1. So we'll watch that and see. Let's go back to this Euro GBP real quick on the lower time frames and see what we got. Breaking that level. Right? That's on a 15-minute time frame. So let's see what happens. Let's see. That won't show up on there. There we go. That's your daily support level there. You got some 1 hour support in there too. Still above the A though. Yep, no, you're 100% correct. 100% correct, right? And as we go down to this, back to that 1 minute time frame, right? We had those fibs running off the high. You got 80-20 scenario on the 1. Boom. Right? So 80-20 scenario also in line with that deep retracement on that 15. So here, if anybody looking to scalp, this is a slow moving pair. Wouldn't necessarily recommend scalping, but here's your 80-20 scenario on the 1 hour time. I mean, on the 1 minute time frame, right? So to the point of regardless of the time frame, right? Things play out the same. So still pushing down. Let's see. Let's watch it for a couple minutes and see what transpires there. Let's see. 7:30. Have you ever traded 1 minute 80-20s? I've done some testing on them. The thing about them, obviously, still comes down to the fundamental piece, right? they still play out, but you get more of those shorter term spikes. So on these, it's interesting, but the wider stops are still more of the way to go on the lower time frames. Placing a stop outside that D, because you do get prices to push and spike on the 1 minute time frame due to smaller random things and capital volatility. So, but I have just in some demo accounts, just testing all time frames. So it is a lower strike rate because of a lot of volatility that occurs, but it still came out in my testing above 50%. So yeah. So something to demo if you move into the point where you're looking to scout at any point, right? Let's see. So we got four pips on the stop loss, right? 6 pips on the take profit. How many pips do we expect to get if we scout 80/20s on the 1 minute time frame? Yeah, like Reese said, that's going to depend on the pair. On the 1 minute, you're not looking at a ton, right? Most people on the 1 minute, they're looking at 10 to 15 pips and they're out. And they're trading at extremely high lot sizes. So yeah. So that all is going to depend on except gold and Bitcoin, or any of your indices. But yeah, so that's going to depend on the ATR, average true range of any pair. So GJ is definitely an interesting one, right? Watching that one on the lower time frames because of the higher ATR, you do get larger moves on the lower time frame. So, but right, so we're starting to settle in a bit there on your one, right? Let's see if we get a trend line break. But there's the 1 minute setup. Bullish action. See if you get a break of the trend line there. It's interesting. A lot of people that we, that are in this space, watching some of the channels where they where they just sit in silence and watch the chart on the live trades. It's interesting to see the reactions that you get and how things move, right? But it's interesting to sit and look at some of those channels and how they work and the following that they have, and they're just sitting in silence watching the trades move. But watching, you are able to learn a lot. So but you see, right? So we pushed into that 118, 127 zone. You got a trend line break right there, right? You got a trend line break on the close of that last candle. Boom, right? Entry opportunity, make that move to the upside. Yeah, just watching and seeing the movements develop. You learn a lot. You learn a lot just from watching and listening. So we'll check back on this 80/20 on the 1 minute time frame. Reese, for you, see if we break back above that 87 180 level on the 15, right? Still inside that sub-fib AB boundary. We already know we got a 50% retracement here. So we're already looking bullish. It's just about when does price turn around and push back to the upside, right? So that's where we are on the Euro GBP. We'll check back in a bit. Coming down to the Euro NZD. So this one, we've been watching for a while, right? Potential crown action here off the weekly time frame. It had a strong push to the downside and a very deep pullback. Came back, retested its previous monthly level. Now we got some indecision, right? On bullish push here, right? Three weeks, 1, 2, 3, bullish, indecision here. So it'd be interesting to see how we end the week. Watch one the other day, 6 pips and call it a win. Yeah, it's crazy because a lot of those people, man, they don't believe that 100, 200, 300 pips really exist, right? And so they're only looking for 5, 10, 15 pip moves, and then they're out. And that causes them, because those small moves, it causes them to trade at higher lot sizes. And a lot of times they're over leveraged, right? And being over leveraged, now, yeah, they win that 6 pip trade, but the next one they lose 25 pips, and their account is blown, right? Because the lot sizes that they're trading at. So it's definitely interesting to watch those, dude, and to hear the conversation. And the level in which they're looking at trades happen, right? It's definitely interesting, but it's also interesting to watch them over extended periods of time, because a lot of them, what happens is, as they begin to learn and grow and evolve, a lot of them shift from scalpers to swing traders, right? To be able to compound accounts and things of that nature and scale into trades. So that narrative shifts from scalping to swing trading anyway, right? And we've had this conversation before, just about the mindset of a scalper. And personally, I believe that if you do want to scalp long-term, developing the mindset of a swing trader and the patience of a swing trader would be extremely valuable, right? Developing that mindset now to understand the patience that it takes to wait on all of your rules to show up and evolve will then help you become a better scalper, right? Because you understand that you don't have to jump into every trade, and you'll be able to hold some of those trades that people get out at 10 pips because of the top-down analysis and understanding the full move in the Fibonacci sequence. Some of those trades that start out as scalps, you might be able to hold those for 50, 100 pips, as opposed to people taking 10 pips and being out, right? So that increases your ability to to stay in trades longer, but also really, really honing in on the patience that it takes to wait on your rules to show up, right? And I think that's really, really important. And I think that'll be valuable for people, is to really, really develop the mindset of a swing trader first before becoming a scalper, becoming consistent as a swing trader before becoming a scalper, so that you really, really press in on that discipline piece, right? And changing the mental makeup so that you can handle, and it also allows you to handle different situations as a scalper as well. But if you don't have that mindset and the patience, now as you go into scalping, you're jumping all over the place, right? And when you take 4, 5, 6 losses in a row, now your feelings are hurt. Now you're revenge trading. Now you're doing all these things because you didn't develop the discipline from the beginning, right? And now you're just floundering. So I'm a firm believer in developing the mindset of a swing trader first, and then moving into the scalping phase of things. So personal opinion. So but on this Euro NZD, right? So we looked at the crown on the weekly, on the daily time frame now, right? We had this long push to the downside and this long push back to the upside. 80-20 scenario. All right, boom. Double top also retest of that, and we're pressing back down. Okay, so 80-20 on the daily, looking for price to move to the downside here. This could kind of be a retest and a second phase of this original move to the downside here. So looking for more downside action. We'll see what happens with the ECB. We'll also see if the commodity currencies start to pick up some strength, and we see that NZD pick up some strength as well and move this back down to the downside, right? But 80-20 on the daily time frame. Coming down to the 4, you also got an 80-20 scenario. Shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone, boom, breaking down, right? So looking for downward movement here, 382 from where price currently is on the 4. You're looking at 174 pips, 177 pips, 618, 273 pips, right? So looking at more movement to the downside there. So allowing that one to continue to evolve as things move forward, and we'll see what happens with the ECB as well. Coming down to your 1, 80-20, right? So on all 3 levels, daily, 4, 1, we got 80-20 scenarios, double tops pressing down to the downside, right? So here on the 1 hour, we're approaching the cloud as a retest. So we'll see if we're able to break that at some point. We're still bullish ahead on the cloud, right? So this could be a bit of a range for us, but see if we get a pullback and then a continuation to the downside to break that cloud and continue moving to those lower levels on the fib on each of those levels, right? So that's where we are on the Euro NZD, looking for price to continue pushing to the downside from a short-term perspective and from a long-term perspective. Questions on the Euro NZD?
No.
Cool. Maybe the 15 minutes. Got stopped in profit. On what move, Joy? To the downside or to the upside? Then we had this opportunity on the upside here.
My original short position, I got stopped out.
Yeah. I did too. But then on this retracement, right, we had this beautiful 80-20 here, right? Move back to the upside, right? Had some new opportunities developed there. So that was where my entries came in here on this move back down, right? This I don't know if anybody took this 80-20 off the low, but that was a beautiful move, 700 pips to the upside off 80-20 scenario, right? After coming off of a move that we had off the high here, right? Even if you just traded one pair, right? We played this to the downside, 900 pips, back to the upside on another 80-20, 700 pips, just off this move in a 3-month period of time, August, September, October, 3-month period of time, right? Almost, that's over 1,700 pips. 1,700 pips in 3 months, right? And now we're in a situation where we could have another 80-20, another opportunity for price to move to the downside, right? If we just get back to there, that puts us at a 2,000 pip mark in a 3-month period of time. And for most people, right, 100 pips is a good month. See what I'm saying? So just understanding how these waves moves, how the waves move is golden, right? But you got to be willing to put in the time, the effort, the energy to learn to see the market differently and retrain yourself from all of the things that others have taught about the market, but really looking at how the market moves from a wave perspective, understand the Fibonacci sequence, and then you can see these longer term moves play out, right? If we get back down to a support level, it's another 700 pips, right? So the opportunity is there, man. The opportunity is there. So that is the Euro NZD. And we'll wrap it up with the Euro dollar. Then that posted 1 hour setup. We'll get down there. We'll take a look at it and see where we are. daily time frame, right? We're hovering in these lower levels, 618 retracement, trying to press to the upside, right? We broke back above these support levels, right? Pressing down again, right? We'll see what happens with the euro, right? We could potentially break these levels if they come in dovish, right? And push down to the next level at 102. So we'll watch to see, but you also got the dollar pulling back as well. So we'll watch and see what happens. If the dollar breaks its consolidation to the upside, we could see this break, this kind of rangy-ish sideways move to the downside, right? So we'll watch and see what happens there. But if the ECB defies the expectations, right, we could see this then rise. So we'll watch and see what happens. And actually, speaking of that, coming from a higher time frame perspective, right? I haven't looked at this a lot, but this is an 80-20 on the weekly time frame. So a break of this 105.066 level wouldn't surprise me, right? It wouldn't surprise me. We broke this previous support level. Now we're at this next level, and it wouldn't surprise me to break that, because this is an 80-20 scenario, right? We haven't gotten a pullback yet, right? It's been almost straight down, but a break of that support level wouldn't surprise me and a move down, right? But this level could also hold, and we could get somewhat of like a head and shoulders pattern, right? So watching that to see how it develops and seeing what the ECB does, and then seeing what the dollar does as well. Let's see what we got. Disciplined swing trader, scalper, eating good off of one pair. All the best funded traders only trade one pair, but our strategy works on everything, so it's hard for me to pick just one, even though I know it would make my life so much easier. Yeah, it's all, I think it comes back to the lifestyle, man. There are a lot of people that just trade one pair. And honestly, right, especially if you're, and it depends on your style, right? With you being down on the 15-minute and the 30-minute time frame, trading one pair, you have, right, a decent number of setups within those time frames to meet the goals that you set for yourself, right? So it's going to depend on the time frame that you trade on and what your goals are, right? And the type of person and your even your schedule, right? Being able to sit on the lower time frames and wait on the moves to develop, right? But if you're sitting down here, because look at it, right? Sitting down here, they happen, right? They happen all day long. 15-minute time frame, we got to a 382 there, we pushed up, broke down, so you wouldn't have taken that trade, right? You run your fib off the high. That one hit the no, that one did not hit the D extension. Let's see. That low 104.950, 104.930, right? So that just missed that D extension. So this would have been a trade you took, right? But it took a while for it to play all the way out. So if you took your profit there, right, a couple days in, right, now you're waiting on the next fib to form, right? Unless you drop down to a lower time frame. See what I'm saying? So the moves are there all day long if you sit and just trade one pair. And you can do that. And you can do it, relatively easily, right? So it's going to depend on your goals and what you're looking to do, right? Because you can sit on one time frame and just trade 80-20s, right? Just trade 80-20s, and it'll play out beautifully for you. So it like I said, it comes back to your style and what goals you have for yourself, because then you have to look at the time frame that you want to trade on, because you can drop down to the 5-minute, 10-minute, right, and trade those 80-20s too. And you'll obviously see more of them on the lower time frame, right? You'll see more fib sequences show up and play out. But back to your goals, right? Back to your goals and where you are from a psychological perspective, right? Because if you want to, absolutely you can, right? Absolutely you can. And then just wait for them again, right? But it goes back to the point I was making earlier about the mindset of a swing trader, then moving down to scout, right? And Reese, you developed the discipline, right, to do that. So now you're down on the 15-minute and 30-minute. So maybe as you're building, right, your capital on the 15-minute and 30-minute, maybe you do some testing on the 5-minute, right? And you do some testing for a period of time to shift your view, right? And maybe you drop down to the 5-minute time frame. You just trade 5-minute time frames on a pound yen or an indice or something like that, if that's what you really want to do, right? If that fits into, right, your trading plan for yourself and the goals that you have. I definitely think it's possible. You don't have to trade every single pair. We do it because we swing trade, and we know some of these trades take a while to play out, so it gives us multiple opportunities on different time frames. But you can definitely trade one pair, right? But you really have to hone in on your discipline, which you've done a great job of, Reese, right? And you're getting there, right? Yeah, and if trading multiple pairs makes you anxious, then scale it down, right? Scale it down, but set proper expectations for yourself, right? So if you're only going to trade one pair and you're trading on a 1-hour time frame, you might get one trade a week, and that's okay, right? But understand that going into the situation, as opposed to expecting, oh, I'm gonna have 5, 6, 7, 8 setups a week. No, you probably won't, right? And sometimes you may not even get one trade a week, right? But again, it's okay. It's okay, but you have to make sure that you set the proper expectations for yourself, right? Because if you're trading the Euro USD, you'd just be sitting through all of this, right? You wouldn't have had a trade on the Euro USD since September, right? If you're trading off the 1-hour time frame, right? Come down to the 15 or the 5, you have more trade opportunities. But again, the discipline is important. If you don't have the discipline to trade on a 5-minute time frame and sit and wait on your rules, don't do it, right? If you're still taking trades that you shouldn't take, right? If you're still stepping outside your rules and allowing your emotions to kind of rule your decisions, these lower time frames, in my opinion, aren't for you yet, right? Because you're going to see more candles form. And the more candles that form, the more anxious you're going to be, right? The more you're going to start talking to yourself internally. And if you don't have the discipline to handle that, it's not going to be a good situation, right? It's not going to be not a good situation. It's not going to be a situation that works out in your favor. Those are the words that I want to use, right? And it won't work out in your favor because you don't have the discipline to manage your emotions, right? And manage the situation and be patient, right? It's extremely, extremely important to develop that discipline before dropping down to those lower time frames. Extremely important, right? I can't stress that part enough. I can't. You really have to have the mindset for it, and you really have to instill the discipline for it, right? Be able to sit on your hands until things get in position that you have written down in your trading plan. Once you do that, by all means, right? By all means. But I strongly urge people to develop that discipline as a swing trader first, right? Because that allows you to really understand yourself at a completely different level. It forces you to. And as you do that, now you're more versatile. Now you can do a lot more. But if you just dive into the swing trading and you don't have that emotional intelligence and the mindset and the skills and the discipline, right? And the actual detailed trading plan that you're sticking to on a consistent basis, it's not going to be a fun experience for you. You're going to be frustrated, right? You're going to lose a lot. I'm talking from experience. I'm talking from experience because I've been there. I've been on these lower time frames. I've been on the lower time frames without a trading plan. I've been on the time frames without the consistency, without the consistency, without the mindset. I've been there, and it's not fun, right? It's not fun from an emotional perspective, and it's not fun from a financial perspective. I've lost a lot of money, right? When I wasn't disciplined, and I strongly urge folks to sit and really think about that. Really think about that. But back to the question of, can you trade on one time frame? Absolutely. I mean, a one pair, you absolutely can. You absolutely can. And it just goes back to you and your goals, right? And your discipline. GU was a great move this week for sure. For sure. And the lower time frames are fun, man, right? Tons of opportunity down there. Tons. So Euro USD, we on the 15, so the 1 hour. Okay, let me go back. I don't know if I'll walk through this, but I think I stopped at the daily. So on the 4, appreciate it, Michelle. On the 4, here's our 80-20 scenario, right? We still haven't gotten to that 382 level on the 4, right? And we're pressing back down. We got that support level there. So we'll see what happens with the ECB. If you guys are down to hang out, we can actually hang out until after that rate statement comes out at 8:15. I can stay on a little bit longer. Daughter doesn't have school today, so but price pressing down to the downside. So if you guys want to hang out, by all means, if you got a jet, I understand that too. This is all being recorded, so you can hop in and see how things go. But sweet, appreciate it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the rate statement and the ECB. See if these support levels hold. We'll see if we touch that D extension at 104.376. Right, but there's the 80-20. It was a nice move to the upside. We weren't able to get up there and fully break out to get to that 382. So we'll see what happens here in the next hour. Coming down to the 1, right? We got a 618 retracement. Right. So now, right, we have the back and forth in the fibs on the multiple time frames. So So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting to see what happens here. So that's where we are. Donnet had 1 hour. She was running fibs off the low. Boom. Right. So there's a sub fib on the 1. Capital fib here, you got a 618 retracement on your sub fib. You got a deep retracement pushing into a 786 level. So rate statement is going to be the answer to our questions, right? Do we take out the sub fib on the A, continue pressing lower, or do we I don't know why this weekly level isn't on my 4 hour.
I was gauging it based on the dollar, right? So the dollar is at that critical
Yeah.
level to break down. So if you get the pull,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. No, I follow you there, right? And if the DXY, right, if we break out of this and push to the upside, right, for sure, we'll see the euro dollar continue to the downside. But if we retrace here, right, to your point, Donette, right, we could see this euro dollar rally, right? But I think the DXY is heavily weighted by the euro, right? So that could also play into the DXY's movement. But I think that'll have the weight in this one in the short term, right? We got some more data coming out, some more speakers coming out later today and tomorrow. But in this particular pair, I think right now it's going to be more of the rate statement, and then we could see some of the other things develop as well. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if these levels get broken, right? Because here's your 80-20 on the weekly time frame, right? And if higher time frames control the lower time frames, ECB pauses, right, and have more of a dovish tone. It doesn't give a hawkish pause like the Bank of Canada did, right? We could see this fall. And it wouldn't be surprising at all. It wouldn't be surprising at all, right? Tons of different scenarios if that occurs too, right? We could then be looking at potential crown pattern setups, right? Because then if the Fed comes back and they have more dovish tones and in those types of scenarios, right, we could be in for crown pattern setups and things like that, right? We could see it push down, right, for a rally, something like that, right? So tons of different scenarios occur if this 105 level gets broken. And even if it doesn't get broken, if we get a push to the upside, right? If it's a if it's a hawkish pause, right? And she's very hawkish about not being satisfied with inflation, and even though some of the data is changing, and we could see a rally, right? And that could cause DXY push to the downside, and now we're looking at head and shoulders, right? Similar scenario. So tons of different options that could come from this. So we'll watch and see how it transpires and how it develops here over time, right? So we'll watch and see what what happens with the rate statement. Okay. Any questions on the euro dollar? Any other thoughts?
No,
Your Euro GBP did go up to
Did it? Let's go back. My bad. I didn't bounce back to it. Let's see. That Euro GBP. There's our 15-minute. Took that A out on the spike. Right. So now this is our capital fib to the downside. We could get to that D extension. Coming down to the 5. Got you at 382. Boom. There's your 80-20 scenario. All right. We got a trend line breaking and push deeper. But this is what I said, Reese, right? On these lower time frames, on the 1 minute time frame, you had a trend line break here and price push deeper. Right. And these are some of the things that you do get on the on the 1 minute time frame, on the 15-minute time frame. More scenarios like this where you get a trend line break and a push deeper, and then price to move in your favor. You see that a lot more on these time frames than I've seen on the higher time frame. So that stop outside the D becomes even more valuable on this 1 hour. I mean, on the 1 minute and the 15-minute time frame. So, but boom, 80-20 scenario played out. Right. So even if you were scalping this, yeah, you took your entry here off the close of the candle. You were in drawdown 3 pips. Right. Price moved in your favor. Right. 3 pips. But right, hit your target of TP1. All right. So now it's a question of strong move to the upside. We're pulling back. Right. What happens? Do we continue lower, or do we double bottom here and push? Right. Because it looks like we just missed that 382. That's 87,206, 87,209. So just barely missed that. But if you put your, like Benny always talks about placing that level just inside of, right? So that likely would have gotten hit with the spread, boom, TP. So we'll see. Well, now we'll see what happens, right? Do we get a double bottom here and push, or do we push to the D extension, get a new fib to form? Right? But that played out. Right? Yeah. Good work there. Yeah, that's pushing. Let's see. Let's see if that holds. Yeah, it took out your A, Reese. Boom. Let's head it to the D extension here on the 15. Ba, 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 ba. Yep, there's your fib. Yeah, that can double bottom there. Potential re-entry opportunity. Break, pull back. Let's see. Yeah, that took out the A there too. Yeah, no fib on that. So it moved. It moved. We'll bounce back and forth to it and see. We'll bounce through these zeros and see how they move. I'll come back to those. Pound Aussie. This is another one. I'm actually short on this one, but it's more of a continuation from a larger move, right? So we had this beautiful almost 1,000 pips to the downside off that original move, pulled back. We still haven't gotten this 382 off the daily time frame, right? So beautiful pullback, retest daily support level, right? And then we got a nice bearish candle here, boom, and a pullback. So I'm short on this pound Aussie. Coming to the 4, this is why. It had a beautiful retracement here, 618, double top, breakdown. So I'm short here. Managing off the higher time frame, right? Looking for us to at some point get to this this 382 off the daily time frame. But my entry, my re-entry on this was off of this retracement, right? I took profit off the move down, right? Beautiful play here, right? That's the 80-20 that we played off the top. Now I'm looking at these sub fibs here, pull back, double top, 618 retracement, daily resistance, short. So I'm looking for price to continue moving to the downside, D extension at 187. Okay, so that's the next take profit level off this fib to the downside here. Coming down to the 1, right? You had a ton of back and forth happening there, right? Ton of back and forth, but on the 1 hour capital fib here, right? Lower time frame, this is your 80-20 on the retracement. Shallow retracement, 118 to 127 zone. Just missed the D extension. Retracement, right? Just shy of a 618 level, but in line with a daily resistance level, right? And it gave you a double top. So that was a beautiful move back to the upside, right? Out of the zone. If you took it in the zone, right? That would have been 300 pips to the upside. You had a drawdown of 130, right? So 3-to-1 scenario there, boom. Now you're looking at this move back down to the downside, right? For what's that? 480 pips, right? So another high ATR pair, Reese, and right, that you could trade just this pair, right? But this move took a while, right? It took a while. It consolidated here. We got somebody keep me on a time check. We got 5 minutes or so before that statement comes out. Please keep me on a time check. But we consolidated here, right? September, what was that? 21st to the 28th, right? So we consolidated for a week, pressed down for a day or so before we started to move back to the upside, right? But in the move to the upside, that's 300 pips, and move that 300 pips in a month's time, right? So you could definitely do it. You could definitely do it. And in all of that, right, you could have done a couple things, right, to really kind of hone in on what you're doing and lower your stop loss, right, which would increase your lot size, right, running your trend lines. And you see here, right, consolidated, pushed up, came back down, right? So maybe you entered there, maybe you didn't, right? But even if you did, your stop loss would have been a little wider, right? On that move to the upside. Maybe you entered right in that 118, 127 zone. That's your 137 pip stop loss. Maybe you missed that entry, price pushed down, right? That would have been your adjustment of your trend line, right? Now you're dropping down to your 15-minute. And you're looking for oops, that's the 5. Now you're coming down to your 15. Our lines don't come through. Right? And you're looking at it like this. Oh, here we go. All right. Boom. Okay. Now either you run your trend lines tight and get to your lowest point. Now on your entry on this, now you're really tight, right? And you're looking at an entry and the stop loss of something like this, right? Because that D extension was pretty close there on the 1, right? So now you're looking at a scenario like that where you go from 137 pips to, right, to get down 100 pips, right? Off that break, you're only trading one pair. So you don't have 7 other pairs you're trading and you're splitting your risk in between those. It's just one. So you're trading 1%, whatever your account size is. Now you could potentially trade at a higher lot size, right, on that move to the upside. See what I'm saying? So it can definitely be done. It can definitely be done, but you want to look at higher ATR pairs, right, to be able to maximize the time. And appreciate it. We'll hop back to the euros, but to maximize your time and the opportunity, right? And trading one pair, you want to look at those higher ATR pairs to see, where they are and how they're moving, and make the assessment that way. In identifying which pair to trade. Euros. Let's sit on the euro dollar and see how it moves. Yeah, 2 minutes. Euro yen pressing sideways. Euro Swissy starting to press down a bit. All right, we'll watch these off lower time frames to see the lower time frame moves, right? We know where we are from our time frame perspective on all these, right? They're all in relatively similar situations, right? Key levels. with opportunity to move to the downside, right? This is another one, right? We're looking at potential moves to the downside happening. We'll watch and see. We'll watch and see. EuroCAD. This one's pushing back to the upside a bit right now. Okay. We'll see if we get that see if we get this right tip to form. The Euro's pushing back to the upside. Let's see. Refresh. Boop, boop, boop. Push it up. Euro dollar. Slight push up.
8:15.
Let's see what we got. They held, right? So now it's about the statement. So they in line, so they didn't go outside of expectation. So now it's about what's said in the press conference. And see, look, we talked about that, right? Pull back. So now it's about what the statement actually says, and in the press conference, right? So let's turn over there. It was that EuroCAD. Yeah, pulling back still there. I'm gonna run a fib off the high on this EuroCAD. There's your sub fib there. 8-6 retracement pushing back down. We got it, boom. So now there, right? And so as you're looking at these moves, right, digesting what that statement says, right? Digesting what the statement says. Reading through the notes. So let's see if we got any tweets out there. Unchanged income information is broadly. Let's see. Previous assessment of the medium-term inflation outlook. Inflation is still expected to stay high for too long, and domestic price pressures remain strong at the same time. Inflation dropped markedly in September, including due to strong base effects. Most measures of underlying inflation have continued to ease. Governing councils past interest rate increases continue to be transmitted forcibly into financial conditions. So data dependent approach. So stay too high for too long. So kind of a mixed statement there. Inflation too high for too long. So that kind of says we're still concerned. But the work that they've done, whoops, I keep pushing that. The work that they've done is moving inflation in the direction that they want, but they're still going to be data dependent and watch how things transpire over the coming months, right? So the written statement and the notes is a little back and forth, right? So hence the reaction that you got of push up and a push down. So now it's going to be about what Christine Lagarde says in her press conference, right? So we could see a bunch of sideways action happen here, right? Through the rest of the hour until she comes to the microphone and gives her speech, right? So that's where we are. Nothing too nothing to jump in, but to watch and see how the market moves and how the market responds, see if it pushes price into our sweet spots, right? So that's the Euro CAD, the Euro Aussie. Not much action, right? Not much change there on the Euro Aussie. Euro Swissy, probably not much change. Yeah, no, not much change there. So we'll just see consolidation here. Let's see in this Euro GBP what it do. Okay. Triple bottom at that level, right? So we could see this one now rise here. Definitely see that. We could definitely see that rise. But this is all just consolidation. All right. So now if you didn't take that trade, if you missed it like we did, right, we're adjusting the trend line because what happened? Price pushed down to the low, right? Pushed down to the low again. So this tells us we're in consolidation. So when we're in consolidation, we shift our trend line. Boom. Right. But this also falls in line with the cloud, right? So if you're using the cloud as confirmation, I'm going to pull these out for a second. Using the cloud as confirmation, right? Now, this is what you got. We said back here, it'll take a minute for the cloud to come into play. Price pushed up, tested the cloud, came back down, right? And the cloud is now moving into play where if we get a break, that gives us some insight on the move to the upside, right? So didn't get to the 382 there. Let's watch to see when we get a cloud break. When we get a cloud break, TK crossover, right? Do we get price to rise there, right? So that's the value of the cloud, and using the cloud as that additional confirmation. It keeps you out of a lot of the consolidation here because you didn't get a break, right? You didn't get a break. You didn't get a break. So now we just sit and watch, right? And allow that to develop. And once we get the break, then we can, look for those moves to the upside. So the other thing on the lower time frames I'll add is, right, additional pieces of confirmation, right, along with the mindset, right, along with the discipline, having the additional pieces of confirmation to keep you out of a lot of the back and forth that we know happens at different points of the month or even different points of the day, right? So using the cloud as a confirmation on the lower time frame will help keep you out of a lot of the noise that you might see as you're looking at getting into a trade, right? So instead of taking that off of that initial trend line break here that we got, right, using the trend lines to the downside, right, it broke there. You can say it didn't break the cloud, so I'm going to wait for a cloud break because we still didn't get to a 382. We saw we missed it by a micro, right? We didn't get a cloud break, so we didn't enter the trade, and we just sat and waited for a confirmation of cloud break, TK crossover, Kumo twist. We get that. That's our entry confirmation. Now we're entering here. We place our stop below the low or outside the D, and now we allow price to run. Right. So that's the other piece in developing that trading plan on the lower time frames is having additional pieces of confirmation that give you a little bit more support on the lower time frames and keeps you out of a lot of the mess that you might have to sit through if you were just to enter at specific levels. So yeah. So we'll watch and see how that one ends up. Euro yen, not much doing there. And Euro NZD, I think we looked at it, but trying to pull back into that sweet spot on the 15, right? And to give us an opportunity to add to move to the downside there. All right. Let's see. And Euro dollar still sitting 786 retracement. Okay. So good people. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Questions on anything that we covered this morning?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No questions. Great.
Absolutely.
No, thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. So, right, patience is key. Patience is key. Discipline is key. Learning and understanding yourself is key. So we'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the pre-New York session. You guys have a phenomenal day. we'll connect in the Discord once Christine Lagarde comes to the you're good, Joy. Once Christine Lagarde comes to the microphone, we'll see what she has to say. We'll drop some notes in the Discord, and we'll continue our conversation on that side, right? You guys have a phenomenal day. Appreciate it, Reese. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.